Hello and welcome. My name is Melissa Galasso, and today we're going to talk about our most recent ASU, ASU 2020-11. Now, this is a continuation of what seems to be the COVID way. So we've talked a lot about COVID and the implications. We've seen standard setters ranging from the AICPA to the GASB and FASB all really have to address the impact of COVID-19. And so this standard is really focused again on looking at particular ones. That is one thing that I think the FASB has done differently than its peers, is that both GASB and the AICPA took a more holistic approach. GASB and the AICPA delayed all standards that were not yet effective. FASB has taken a much more targeted approach, looking at specific standards to delay as a result of COVID-19. And so you can see here topic 944, which is our insurance topic, is being delayed by 1 year. So let's talk a little bit about that. So the ASU 2020-11 came out in November of 2020. Now, this is significantly later than ASU 2020-05, which came out in June, which delayed the revenue recognition standard as well as the leases standard. So at that time, when COVID was really sort of early in the process and we recognized it was going to be wreaking havoc on entities' abilities to really, to be able to implement this, they decided to really focus at that point on the major standards at hand, which were RevRec and leases. And for leases, they gave a 1-year delay for all private entities as well as nonprofits that had conduit debt. They had not been included in the earlier delay, and so many people were very happy about that. On the other hand, they also delayed revenue recognition for all private entities. And so again, trying to look at the implications of COVID and the theory behind it. So this is not new, right? This is, just a continuation of that, but it is, again, a very targeted standard. So ASU 2018-12 is not new to being delayed either. It is long duration contracts. So this is really the insurance industry, similar to the standard they did on short duration contracts, things like car insurance or medical insurance. They really decided in 2018 to beef up the disclosure requirements related to long duration contracts. So instead of really replacing the standard with a new methodology, they wanted to provide more insight into the estimate that was being created. And so ASU 2018-12 was issued back in 2018 and provided these targeted improvements. Again, not a brand new model as originally proposed in the exposure draft, but a more targeted improvement for these long duration contracts. However, we've been lots of delays along the way. So in November of 2019, ASU 2019-09, which was again topic 944 insurance, effective date delayed the original effective date of this long duration contract. So there was already one delay back in 2019, and that was part of the greater effort that the FASB went through to look at the effective dates of entities. And so they decided that there really should be a 2-year delay between the public effective date and the private effective date for what they determined to be major standards. And so at that point, they delayed CECL, they delayed hedging, and they delayed leases an extra year for those private entities who were going to adopt. They also adjusted the effective date for SRCs, smaller reporting companies, so they meet the definition of the SEC as being a smaller reporting company, and again, get those additional delays. So back in 2019, there was a separate standard, so that was in 2019-10. In 2019-09, they delayed the long duration contracts by an additional year as well, very similar to this, except when they did it, they extended it for all entities, right? So it wasn't just an extension for private entities. The insurance companies got an entire year delay for public, as well as the additional year for private. Then COVID-19 struck. And so COVID-19, again, adding to cost and complexity, trying to really think about insurance right now, lots of stuff going on in this area, lots of entities being impacted. And right now, probably not the time to be focusing on some of these bigger items. And a lot of these disclosures require a little bit more effort than we've historically provided. So as a result, they are looking again at another delay. So this delay has two pieces to it. So it provides an additional delay for all entities again. So unlike revenue recognition and unlike leases, which were targeted to private entities, this provides another year for all entities. And so again, when they look at all insurance entities, they felt like trying to facilitate the transition of this new standard was really important. And so they wanted to give the information to investors. However, they also wanted to encourage early adoption when they could, because they know that this standard is improving financial reporting. And I think that's very important to note here, is that the standard does provide better information to the user, provides more information about the process and the methodology and the assumptions. And so we know that this is really a good option. And so typically, especially for our public companies who present 3 years of information, when they are doing the early adoption, they have to do it to all of the years presented. And so one of the things that they offer in this standard is early application transition relief. And so in this scenario, you can just adopt at the beginning of the prior year if you're early adopting. So basically you would only have to do 2 years and that would be acceptable for FASB. But if you're not early adopting, then you would follow the general rule, which is the earliest year presented. So it's sort of a carrot to encourage people to early adopt if they can. Again, they don't know. COVID could be really hampering their ability. They wanted to provide this option. So a large calendar year public insurance company could reflect the new long duration contracts as of January 1st, 2021, and then they would record the transition adjustment in its 2022 financials and in its 2023 statements if they do not elect the early adoption. So as we look at this, we have to look at the timing of the adoption. So if you're going to early adopt, you only have to do 2 years. If you're going to not early adopt and you're a public company, you're going to have to do the full 3 years. So just again, a little bit of a carrot. So what is the new effective date? Well, that means for public business entities that meet the definition of an SEC filer and are not smaller reporting entities, is going to be for fiscal years beginning after December 15th of 2022, which is calendar 23, fiscal 24. It sounds so far away, but I know that it's going to be just around the corner, right? That seems to be the theme lately. That sounds like it's really far, but things just happen so much quickly. And then you see that 2-year delay, as we discussed earlier, that for all other entities, it's fiscal years beginning after December 15, 2024, which would be calendar 25 and fiscal 26, right? So we literally are talking about standards now in 2026. So again, delaying the effective date, offering transition relief here, really trying to get at those key elements as we go through. The question I get most frequently in classes today is, are there going to be more delays? And it seems like on the FASB side, they are willing to consider delays, but they are going to be really picky about them. So as opposed to really blanket options like GASB and the AICPA, they're doing more of a targeted approach. So if next year there are standards that private companies or public companies are supposed to adopt that seem unlikely to be able to, if COVID continues to cause difficulty in operation, I'm assuming that they're going to continue this targeted approach. And so for this year, we already had a pretty light year for adoption for 2020. If you look at our calendar year ends, because leases was scheduled originally to be effective this year, it's actually a pretty light year. The standards that are effective are very niche and don't impact all that many entities. So some entities might actually have 0 adoption in 2020, which I'm sure they won't be all that disappointed with. So again, I don't know what's exactly going to come down the pike. It looks like FASB is a sort of one at a time adjustment here, but they will continue to look at this. I think the new chair has made it very clear that they understand this is operationally difficult. So be on the lookout for future standards. All right. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Hopefully that helped you understand a little bit about the new long duration contract adjustments. I hope to see you on a future Nano Learning. Have a great day, guys. Bye-bye.